Ethan woke up to the feeling of warmth. Too much warmth. And weight. His whole body was pinned under something soft, yet inescapably firm. His brain lagged a second before catching up. No. No, no, no. He wasn't in his bunk. He wasn't even on his ship. His head tilted up. Towering over him, in the dim morning glow, was a massive, muscular, golden-skinned alien woman. Her face rested inches from his, a satisfied smirk curling on lips big enough to eclipse his forehead. Oh, right. The kidnapping. The abduction. The absolute nightmare. Ethan sucked in a breath, legs tangled in what felt like an organic straitjacket of toned thighs and anaconda-thick arms. She was cuddling him like a teddy bear, one enormous hand resting dangerously low on his stomach. No sudden movements. Maybe she hadn't woken up yet. Maybe. A deep, husky purr vibrated against his entire body. Oh, my precious little mate. Already stirring? Shit. Ethan barely had time to react before her grip tightened, pulling him closer. A wall of soft yet unyielding flesh engulfed half his face. His muffled protests only earned a chuckle. Such an adorable creature. You must have slept so peacefully in my arms. Peacefully? He would have loved to correct her, but it was hard to breathe when his entire upper body was drowning in a plush, muscular alien embrace. He pushed against her arm. It didn't budge. Listen, lady, he grunted. I don't know what kind of Amazonian kidnapping fantasy this is, but I am Queen Zareth of the Valari. She corrected smoothly, voice deep and sultry. And you, my delicate little mate, are mine. Ethan redoubled his escape efforts, twisting, squirming, anything, and got exactly half an inch of freedom before she simply flexed, pinning him right back down. Oh, this was bad. Her tail lazily coiled around his waist, the powerful limb giving him a possessive squeeze. There is no need for such struggle, my love, she crooned, brushing her fingers through his hair. I will take care of you. You will never want for anything. My nest is yours. Ethan stopped struggling just long enough to glare up at her. Lady, I mean queen, I don't know what your deal is, but I am not your mate, and I do not want to be in your nest. Zareth tilted her head, amused. Oh? Then why were you snuggling into me all night? I wasn't. She pressed him closer. You clung to me in your sleep. Whimpering. Utterly helpless. That's a damn lie. She purred, nuzzling the top of his head. Of course it is, my shy little mate. Ethan ground his teeth, trying not to combust on the spot. All right. Fine. This was happening. But if she thought he was just going to roll over and accept it, she had another thing coming. Time for an escape plan. Carefully, while distracting her with angry human noises, he started shifting his legs. If he could just wiggle free, slide down, avoid that ridiculously prehensile tail. Bam! The moment he slipped out, his foot caught in something soft yet massive, sending him tumbling face first onto a fabric surface big enough to be a circus tent. It took one humiliating second to realize he just tripped on her discarded nightgown. A slow, teasing hum rumbled behind him. Oh, my mate! Zareth purred, stretching languidly on the bed, watching his pathetic escape attempt like a cat amused by a mouse. Ethan scrambled up. He had to move. Fast. His communicator. Where the hell was his communicator? He patted his suit pockets, came up empty. You search for your strange little device? His stomach dropped. She held it between two fingers, smirking. Give that back. She tilted her head. And why would I do that? I cannot have my delicate human calling for help. He might be taken from me. That's the fucking point. She pouted, tilting the communicator between her claws. I wonder. Her smirk turned wicked. Is this a human mating tool? You do seem very attached to it. Ethan lost a few brain cells right there. What? No. Oh? She flicked it open, turning it over. Then I see no reason to keep it. She crushed it between her fingers. Ethan felt something inside him die. That was expensive. Zareth smiled, utterly unbothered. I shall get you a new one. Great, unless you know a space carrier that ships to psychotic jungle queens, I'm kinda. He saw his opening. While she was distracted with her smug monologuing, he bolted. Or at least, he tried. The moment his foot hit the ground, something powerful wrapped around his waist and yanked him backward. His stomach flipped as he was hauled through the air like a ragdoll. The next thing he knew, he was back in her arms, her tail once again coiling snugly around him. Adorable, she murmured, nuzzling his hair. You truly wish to play hard to get. Ethan was going to have an aneurysm. This isn't a game. I'm not your mate. I am a human man, and I am not built for. Her eyes darkened with amusement. Oh? She ran a finger down his chest, slow, teasing. Would you like a demonstration? His brain short-circuited. The part of him that was terrified wrestled with the part that was dangerously curious. But Ethan wasn't about to give her that satisfaction. He stared up at her with pure defiance. You wouldn't dare. Her smile turned positively predatory. Oh, my little mate, she purred. I am an 18-foot-tall Amazonian queen. I dare everything. Ethan made one last, desperate escape attempt. He kicked off her chest, pushed away, only for her to catch him midair with one hand, flipping him effortlessly back onto the bed. Zareth laughed. Oh, you are going to be so much fun. Ethan stared at the ceiling, contemplating all his life choices. He was never getting out of this alive. Ethan had faced a lot of insane situations in his life: pirates, corrupt officials, a malfunctioning AI that tried to marry him to a vending machine. But this was a new level of cosmic injustice. He had been abducted, imprisoned in a ridiculously oversized love nest, and worst of all, his captor was enjoying every second of it. Zareth lounged on the massive silken bed, watching him with the same lazy amusement a house cat gave a cornered mouse. She was stretched out, all 18 feet of golden muscle and smug superiority. You are quite the feisty one, my little mate, she purred. Most males would be trembling with excitement to serve me. Ethan crossed his arms. Yeah, well, human guys don't exactly have a fantasy about getting smothered to death by an alien Amazon. Her brow lifted slightly. Oh? Is it the smothering that concerns you, or the fact that you may enjoy it? His brain short-circuited. That is not the issue. She chuckled, clearly savoring his flustered state. You humans are such curious creatures, she mused. So small. So fragile. Yet so defiant. Ethan paced, his mind racing. There had to be a way out of this. Every escape attempt so far had been thwarted effortlessly, but there was always a way. He just had to think outside the box. His eyes flicked to her, then to the elaborate golden cuffs around her wrists. She wasn't just any alien, she was a queen. And queens had rules, customs, weaknesses. Okay, let's say for a second I entertain this insanity, he said carefully. What exactly do you think happens next? She smiled indulgently. Why, we begin your training, of course. The way she said that word sent a full-body shudder down his spine. Training? She sighed, as if explaining something obvious. You are unfamiliar with our ways. As my mate, you will be taught how to properly serve, please, and devote yourself to my every need. Ethan had so many objections to that sentence, he didn't even know where to start. Yeah, that's a hard pass. Zareth sat up, watching him with curiosity. Then tell me, human, what is it you desire? I desire to go home. He deadpanned. She grinned. Besides that. Oh, she was enjoying this way too much. Ethan had to be smart. He had to buy time, keep her talking. I mean, if you really want to do this whole mate thing properly, shouldn't I have a say in it? He tried. Humans are weird like that. We have this thing called consent. Zareth chuckled. Ah, but that is where you are mistaken, my delicate one. She leaned forward, eyes gleaming. You see, Valari mates are not chosen by mere preference. They are chosen by instinct. By challenge. By strength. Ethan narrowed his eyes. Strength? She gestured to herself. I won you in battle. Excuse me? She smiled. A slow, wicked, completely self-satisfied smile. You stumbled into my territory. I claimed you. By Vallari law, that makes you mine. Ethan's jaw almost hit the floor. That is not how battles work. Her tail flicked, clearly amused by his outrage. It is by our laws. Okay, well, humans have laws too, and I'd really love to see the Intergalactic Court explain how tripping into a giant lady's arms counts as being conquered. She hummed thoughtfully. Perhaps you would prefer a trial of worth? He eyed her suspiciously. Trial? Her grin turned positively devious. A challenge, she purred. A test to prove your superiority. If you win, I will grant your freedom. Ethan stared hard at her. This was too easy. What's the catch? Zaratha's eyes gleamed. You must defeat me in a contest of my choosing. Yeah, there it was. Ethan exhaled. And let me guess, this contest is something I have a 0% chance of winning? She smirked. Oh, my little human. She leaned down, her face mere inches from his. I never said it had to be fair. Ethan swallowed. He was so screwed. Ethan knew a trap when he saw one, but he also knew something else. If aliens had one weakness, it was underestimating humans. Zarath loomed over him, radiating confidence. She thought this was already won. Fine, he said, crossing his arms. I accept the challenge. Her golden eyes gleamed. Good. I will allow you to select your trial. That caught him off guard. Wait, you're letting me choose? She smirked. Of course. It is only fair. Yeah, that was suspicious as hell. She was baiting him. She wanted him to pick something physical, something that played into her overwhelming size and strength. Which meant he had to be smarter. Ethan took a slow breath. All right. I challenge you to a drinking contest. Zarath blinked. A what? A drinking contest, Ethan repeated. Simple rules. We take turns drinking until one of us taps out. She tilted her head, intrigued. You believe you can best me in a test of endurance? Ethan forced a cocky grin. What's the matter? Afraid a tiny human might drink you under the table? That did it. Her pride kicked in instantly. Very well, she declared. We shall drink. Moments later, a massive ornate table had been brought in, covered in bottles of exotic alien liquors. Ethan cracked his knuckles. Time to put his earthly talents to use. Zarath poured the first drink, a deep, shimmering violet liquid that smelled like it could strip paint off a starship. To victory, she said smoothly, downing it in one gulp. Ethan took his, masking his grimace as the alcohol burned its way through his soul. The next round came. Then the next. Zarath was clearly amused at first, drinking with effortless grace while Ethan did his best to keep up. But by the sixth round, something changed. Her expression wavered. She blinked, shaking her head slightly. Ethan smirked. Feeling it already? Zarath scoffed. Nonsense. I am merely adjusting. Oh, she was absolutely feeling it. What she didn't know was that Ethan had done his research. Vallari physiology processed alcohol differently than humans. Their species had extreme strength and endurance, but when it came to certain chemicals, like Earth-based ethanol, they had zero tolerance. He had subtly switched out some of the alien drinks with human whiskey. Zarath didn't realize it, but she was already in trouble. The rounds continued. Her once perfect posture swayed slightly. Her pupils dilated. Her tail flicked erratically. Ethan fought back a grin. She was losing. Zarath huffed, placing her drink down with unnecessary force. This is an unusual sensation. Ethan leaned forward. What sensation is that? She blinked slowly. The world is tilting. Ethan had to bite his tongue to keep from laughing. She was completely hammered. Zarath tried to rise but stumbled, catching herself on the table. She stared at her hand like it had betrayed her. Curious, she muttered. Ethan stretched. Welp, looks like I win. Zareth snapped her gaze to him. No! I am not defeated! Pretty sure you are. She tried to stand again, her massive frame weaving unsteadily. Ethan stepped back. Whoa there, big girl, let's not. Too late. The giant alien queen lost her balance, tipping forward. Ethan had exactly half a second to realize what was about to happen before. Wham! He was flattened beneath 18 feet of very intoxicated alien muscle. There was a long pause. Ethan could barely breathe. You know, he wheezed, I really thought winning would feel more like winning. Zareth groaned, her head resting against his chest. You cheated, she mumbled. Ethan scoffed. Excuse me? You're the one who let me choose the contest. She shifted slightly, her weight pressing down in ways he really wished it wouldn't. Your cunning is frustrating, she admitted. Ethan grunted. Yeah, well, if I had a credit for every time I heard that. Zareth suddenly lifted her head, her gaze half-lidded. Perhaps I misjudged you, little human. Ethan immediately did not like where this was going. She traced a finger down his chest. Your cleverness, your resilience. I find it quite appealing. Oh, hell no. Ethan struggled frantically beneath her. Nope. No. I won. That means I get to leave. Zareth purred. I said you won your freedom? Her tail curled around his ankle. I never said when you could use it. Ethan's soul left his body. Ethan had never felt more betrayed by the concept of victory. He had outwitted her. He had won the contest. He should be free. Instead, he was trapped beneath an 18-foot-tall drunken alien queen who had just decided that cleverness was an attractive quality. His instincts screamed at him to run, but there was nowhere to go. Zareth's golden eyes gleamed with newfound amusement. Why do you struggle, little human? You have proven yourself worthy. Ethan squirmed, glaring up at her. Worthy of what? Being your personal pet? She chuckled. Pet is such a small word for what you will be. Oh, great. That sounded even worse. Ethan tried another angle. Look, Zareth, you seem nice. In a terrifying, overwhelming, crush me like a bug kind of way. But I'm just not cut out for this whole mate of an Amazonian alien queen thing. She tilted her head. And why is that? Because I value my survival? Ethan snapped. Zareth laughed. Actually laughed. Oh, my little human, she purred. You do not yet understand. You are not here simply to serve me. Ethan frowned. That sounded suspiciously different from her earlier threats. Then what am I here for? Zareth's expression softened, if only slightly. To be cherished. Ethan froze. That was not the answer he expected. Zareth sighed, sitting up slightly. My people are strong, she murmured. We are warriors, conquerors, rulers of vast star systems. But strength comes at a price. We do not have tenderness. Ethan narrowed his eyes. And you think humans do? She nodded. You are creatures of contradiction. Fragile yet fierce. Soft yet unyielding. I have studied your kind. Ethan snorted. Oh, really? What exactly did this study tell you? Zareth grinned. That human males are unique. You are not chosen for power alone, but for wit, for heart, for the way you make your mates feel wanted. Ethan opened his mouth, then closed it. That was dangerously close to sounding romantic. Which was worrying. Because for all his fear and frustration, part of him understood what she meant. He had spent his life scraping by, running from one disaster to the next. No one had ever looked at him like he was something worth keeping. And now here was this giant, terrifying woman, insisting that he was more than just some random human. Ethan shook his head. No. Nope. Not falling for that. He had to get out of here. Ethan exhaled, forcing confidence into his voice. All right. Let's say I believe all this. Let's say you're not just keeping me as some kind of exotic pet. What then? Zareth leaned closer. Then we will build something together. You will teach me the ways of your kind. And I will show you the strength of mine. Ethan grimaced. That sounds an awful lot like marriage. She smirked. A primitive term. But accurate. Ethan ran a hand down his face. You do realize humans have this thing called dating first, right? Zareth frowned. Dating? You know. Spending time together. Learning about each other. Seeing if we even like each other before making insane commitments. Zareth considered this. This is a human custom? Yes, Ethan said quickly. A very important one. If you want to claim me, you have to date me first. Zareth tapped a clawed finger against her chin. She was actually thinking about it. Ethan's heart pounded. If he could stretch this out long enough, maybe he could find an opening to escape. Finally, Zareth nodded. Very well. If this is your custom, then I shall honor it. Ethan blinked. Wait, seriously? She smiled. Yes, my little human. We shall date. Ethan exhaled in relief. He had bought himself time. Zareth stretched, then scooped him effortlessly into her arms. Now, she purred. Tell me, how does a human date begin? Ethan stared at her. He was so screwed.